Right, I think I'm live now. How we go? I guess I am. That'll be my phone telling me I am. Just making sure I am live. I guess I am. That'll be my phone telling me I am. Right, making sure I am live. Bear with me, folks. Thought I had the software sorted. Still getting there. Can't see the chat yet. Okay. That's right, guys. Right, let's try this again. Good to see you all. Thank you very much. I take it I am going live and everything is working correctly. It's been a very long day, so it's going to be a quick one. Chapter 3 of the 7th Ray, Revealer of the New Age. Show the book again. Right, okay. I'm afraid I can't see chat for some reason. Using a different bit of software to go streaming this time. Won't be long. Be with you in a second. Full audio, thank you very much, and video. Cool, awesome. Right then, I'll get cracking in. Doesn't matter if I can't see myself. I know what I look like. Right. Chapter 3. For chapter 3, I'll show you this. I did try doing a screen share so I could show you this, but I couldn't get it working yet. See if I can show you this. Come on, I need to be able to see this. Get a bit closer. Basically, it just breaks down the, well, it's not basically, is it? It breaks down the hierarchy of, oh, I'm new at this. Forget it. I'll post it after so you can see it. Basically, it breaks down the hierarchy of how the rays work through the solar and the planetary hierarchies. I'll just get straight into it, okay, guys? Right, so we've got the solar and the planetary hierarchies of the different rays coming in. It starts off on the top. The solar hierarchies are split into the Trinity, which is the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, or you can put it down to the will, love and wisdom, and active intelligence. And through my synchronicities, I actually saw a cryon earlier. I posted on my Facebook. If anybody's on my Facebook, they can go and see that one. And in there, it describes that as the brain keeps you alive, your heart, and your intelligence. And these three trinities are the solar logos. Okay. And then that splits down into the 7 rays of light coming in. And the 3 rays of aspect and 4 rays of attribute. Okay, now under that you've got number 1, the will or power, love and wisdom, and active intelligence. Now under active intelligence, that splits down to harmony or beauty, concrete knowledge. Hi Chloe, good to see you. Devotion and idealism and ceremonial magic. Okay. Now underneath all of these, you've got the planetary hierarchy. Excuse me. Under the planetary hierarchy, you've got Sanat Kumara. I really hope I've got that pronounced correctly. The Lord of the World. The Ancient of Days, the One Initiator. And under there, you've got the 3 Kumars, the Buddhas of activity. So under there we've got 1, 2, and 3, and under there you've got the reflections of the 3 major and 4 minor rays. The 3 departmental heads are Number 1, the will aspect. Under there you've got the Manu, and then under there you've got the Master Jupiter and Master M. And you've got number 2 next to it, the love wisdom aspect. And under the love and wisdom aspect, you have the Bodhisattva, the Christ, the world teacher. And we've got the European Master. And under that we've got the Master KH and the Master DK. Now underneath those two, it's only when I say underneath, I only mean underneath as in on the page, obviously. We've got 4 grades of initiates, 4 grades of disciples, people on the probationary path, and then lastly at the bottom of that section it says the average humanity of all degrees. And then number 3, the 3rd departmental head, is the intelligence aspect. Now under the intelligence aspect is the I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, mind. The Maha'achahoan, the Lord of Civilization. And I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Don't mean any disrespect by that. Now underneath them you've got the Venetian Master, the Master Serapis, Master Hilarion, Master Jesus, and then the Master R. Okay. Okay, so sorry, I'm using 2 different bits of software here, so I do apologize. So that is basically that page there, which I will try and post an image for you all of. I'll just leave it on screen for a second. I do apologize for my nails, I don't have any nail clippers yet. Okay, so that's just that page broken down. What I'll do is I'll take a picture of that and I'll post it on my channel so you can all take a look at it, okay, when I'm done. Right, so that is a description of the solar and planetary hierarchies. Now we're going to get into the quotations from the book. I'll puff my cigarette a second. Hello to everyone. While I'm doing that, hello to everybody. Hello to everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate you all being here, very, very much. Okay. Just looking at the chat a second. Adnan Corner, thank you very much for being here. You missed the video interviews with Wayne and Trina. I enjoy doing those as well. Hopefully I'll be going on Wayne's channel soon to do another conversation piece and some other bits and pieces. Hopefully Trina will be there as well, so that'll be something interesting and fun, I'm sure, whatever the topic will be. So keep an eye out on Wayne's channel. You may see me on there a bit more often, okay? Right, so really got to figure out how to say his name correctly. The first quotation in chapter 3 is the work of the Maha'achahoan. I'm sure I must be saying that incorrectly. Okay, under the Manu work, the regents of the different world divisions, such as, for instance, the Master Jupiter, the oldest of the masters, now working in physical bodies for humanity, who is the regent for India, and the Master Rakosi, who is the regent for Europe and America. It must be remembered here that though the Master R, for instance, belongs to the 7th ray, and thus comes under the Department of Energy of the Maha'achahoan, yet in the hierarchical work he may and does hold office temporarily under the Manu. These regions hold in their hands the reins of government for continents and nations, thus guiding, even if unknown, their destinies. They impress and inspire statesmen and rulers. They pour forth mental energy on the governing groups, thus bringing about the desired results wherever cooperation and receptive intuition can be found amongst the thinkers. That's a short one. Now the next one. As the seventh way of organization of ceremonial work is now coming into prominence and manifestation, the work of the master on that ray is the synthesizing on the physical plane. All parts of the plan, the master Rakosi takes of the general plan as it is outlined in the inner circle chamber and approximates it to the possible. He might be regarded as acting as the general manager for the carrying out of the plans and executive council of the Christ. Excuse me. Okay, the next one. There is also a secret meaning here which relates to the seven rays as they express themselves in the human kingdom. The knowledge of this secret enables a master to control epidemics and widespread diseases. With this, you are not at this time concerned. Incidentally, the relative freedom from the plagues and epidemics which usually follow in the wake of war has been partially due to the use of this sevenfold knowledge by the hierarchy, plus the scientific knowledge of humanity itself. I'm not making any comments on that one. In this connection also, and I mention it simply from the angle of its interest, there are two hierarchical officials, the Mahachohan and his representative upon the seventh ray, who are today in possession of this secret in its entirety, and they are aided by 5 other masters in applying the gained knowledge. These 5 masters are working primarily with the Diva evolution, and this is, as you know, connected with form, and in this particular case with the healing Divas. The master who concerns himself especially with the future development of racial affairs in Europe and with the mental outgrowing in America and Australia is the master Rakosi. I really hope I'm also pronouncing that correctly. I mean, no offense if I am saying it incorrectly. He is a Hungarian and has a home in the Carpathian Mountains, and was at one time a well-known figure at the Hungarian court. Reference to him can be found in old historical books, and he was particularly before the public eye when he was the Comet de Saint-Germain. All right. And earlier still when he was both Roger Bacon and later Francis Bacon. It is interesting to note that as the Master R takes hold the inner plans of affairs in Europe, his name as Francis Bacon is coming before the public eye in the Bacon-Shakespeare controversy. He is rather a small, spare man with pointed black beard and smooth black hair, and does not take as many pupils as do the masters previously mentioned. He is at present handling the majority of the third ray pupils in the Occident in conjunction with the master Hilarion. The master R is upon the seventh ray at the ceremonial magic or order, and he works largely through esoteric ritual and ceremonial, being vitally interested in the effects hitherto unrecognized of the ceremonial and of the Freemasons. Of the various fraternities and the churches everywhere, he is called in the lodge usually the Count, and in America and Europe acts particularly as the general manager for the carrying out of the plans of the executive council of the lodge. Certain of the masters form around the three great lords and in a group and meet in council with great frequency. The Master P works under the Master R in North America. He is who has had much to do esoterically with the various mental sciences such as Christian Science and New Thought, both of which are efforts put forth by the Lodge in an endeavour to teach men the reality of that which is not seen and the power of the mind to create. This being the fifth sub-race of the fifth root race, the pressure of the work on the 5 rays of mind, which are controlled by the Maha-Ochoan, is very great. The masters are carrying an over-heavy burden, and much of their work of teaching disciples has been delegated to initiates and advanced disciples, and certain of the masters in the first and second rays have temporarily taken over pupils in the Maha-Chohana's department. The end of that section. Very quiet in the chat. Still not sure I've got everything working correctly here. Can't even see how many people are in. Hope everything's going well then. I have no idea why this isn't working like it usually works. I'll go back to how I was doing it before next time. Okie dokie. Right, next section. 2 of the masters especially concerned with the 7th and ceremonial ray, whose particular work is to supervise the development of certain activities within the next 15 years. That's 15 years, I believe, from 95? Yeah, 95. I shouldn't have done that. Years work, and these work under the Master R. Very definitely may the assurance be given here that prior to the coming of the Christ, adjustments will be made so that at the head of all great organizations will be found either a master or an initiate who has taken the 3rd initiation at the head of certain of the great occult groups of the Freemasons of the world and the various great divisions of the Church, and resident in many of the great nations will be found initiates or masters. The work of the masters is proceeding now, and all their efforts are being bent towards bringing it to a successful consummation. Sorry, I was just a bit concerned that everything's going okay. It says I'm live. Consummation. Everywhere they are gathering, in those who in any way show a tendency to respond to high vibration, seeking to force their vibration to fit them so that they may be of use at the time of the coming of the Christ. Great is the day of opportunity for when that time comes, through the stupendous strength of the vibration then brought to bear upon the sons of men. It will be possible for those who now do the necessary work to take a great step forward and to pass through the portal of initiation. On atomic levels, the levels of the spiritual will, are to be found the ashrams of those masters who are interpreting the will of Shambhala, and to whom the committed. I'm very sorry, I've had a very long day with the kids and it's just gone midnight. Maybe I should have waited. On atomic levels, the levels of the spiritual will, are to be found the ashrams of those masters who are interpreting the will of Shambhala, and to whom is committed the task of transmitting the purpose and organizing the plans, whereby the purpose can be fulfilled, as on Masonic levels. The ashrams as a whole are presided over by the Master R, the Lord of Civilization. So on the Buddhic level, all ashrams are supervised by the Master KH with the aid of myself, the Master DK, and 3 senior and initiated disciples. The objective is the unfoldment of group awareness and the loving understanding in order that the forms prepared and conditioned under the supervision of the Master R may be sensitized under the supervision of the Master R, may be sensitized and become increasingly conscious of reality through the development of an inner mechanism of light, which in turn will condition and develop the outer mechanism of contact. Hi Joey, good to see you. Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate you all for being here, and I hope you're understanding on the late hour of my reading skills. Right, let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. The ending of the present evil situation is therefore a cooperative measure, and herein this connection we have the appearance of the Lord of Civilization, who voices and engineers upon the physical plane the fiat of the Lord of Liberation and of the rider from the secret place. He aids and makes possible, owing to his control, the precipitating upon the earth and in the arena of combat of the power generated by the Lords of Liberation, expressed by the Coming One and focused through him as the hierarchical representative in Europe. Excuse me. The work of the Master R has always been recognized as of a peculiar nature and as concerned with the problems of civilization, just as the work of Christ. The Master of all the Masters is concerned with the spiritual development of humanity, and the work of the Manu is occupied with the science of divine government, with politics and law. Thus, the incoming focused energy called forth in response to right invocation is stepped down still nearer to humanity, and the Masters can then respond to the new impulses. You have therefore 1. The Lords of Liberation, reached by the advanced spiritual thinkers of the world whose minds are rightly focused. 2. The rider on the white horse or from the secret place, reached by those whose hearts are rightly touched. 3. The Lord of Civilization, the Master R, reached by all who with the first 2 groups can stand with a mass intent. On the united work of these 3, if humanity can succeed in calling them forth, will come the alignment and the correct relation of the 3 great spiritual centers of the planet, a thing which has never occurred before. Then, number 1, the Lords of Liberation will receive and transmit to the hierarchy energy from the center where God's will is known and furthered. 2, the rider will receive this energy and take such action as will expresses it, plus the motivating energy from the center where God's love is expressed. The Lord of Civilization will stimulate and prepare the center, which we call humanity, for right reception and this revitalizing, stimulating and releasing force. Thus Shambhala, the hierarchy and humanity will stand consciously related and dynamically in touch with each other. The will of God, the love of God and the intelligence of God will thus fuse and blend on earth and in relation to human problems. Conditions will consequently be brought about and energies will be set in motion which will end the rule of evil and bring war to an end through the victory of the forces of light recognized and aided by humanity. That's the end of that little quotation. If anybody would like to go and watch that's subscribed on my Facebook, I did share earlier one of the Cryon readings, and he was actually talking about this, how the brain, the heart, and your active intelligence. I believe that's what they're referring to there. Right, so on to the next one. Hi, Paula. It was just a test earlier, Paula. I don't know what I did wrong, but I was supposed to have set it up for midnight and I just went live. So you didn't really miss anything, okay then? Right, so on to the next quotation. In 1932, the influence of the second ray began to assert itself and will continue to do so until 1945, when the seventh ray will swing slowly into activity. You will then have three rays producing simultaneous effects upon mankind. Number one, the first ray of will or power, expending its force. Two, the second ray of love, wisdom, reaching its meridian and holding the center of stage until 1957. Number three, the seventh ray of ceremonial order coming into activity in combination with the other two, the will to love and the will to order, producing beauty out of the present chaos. The disciples, therefore, of the Master Moraya, of the Master Kuthumi, and of the Master Rakosi are reaching out towards a period of the intensest activity. The destiny of the world lies in the hands of their three groups of initiated disciples with them. The accepted disciples of the three groups are asked to cooperate, and this offers opportunity to man everywhere. As they seek to vision the plan to cooperate with the three masters and their initiate groups, their opportunity will emerge. This triangle of energy is held responsible by the great leaders in Shambhala for the regularizing of world affairs. More than this, it is not necessary for humanity to know. The energy which produces order, this is the energy of the seventh ray or power of divinity at this time, its major expression will come through the relationships and adjustment required between capital and labor. The labor will be preliminarily involved. This energy is being assimilated in the ashram of the master. At the inception of the industrial era, he was responsible for the formation of the labor movement, a movement bringing into the relation the workers of the world. It is interesting to have in mind that today labor functions internationally. It is a group which learns with rapidity and has in it the seeds of vast good. It is probably the group which will place goodwill in the forefront of human thinking upon a pinnacle of thought. This master to whom I refer belongs to the ashram of the Master R. He relieves him of this phase of the work to be done. Hello, Starrama. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you being here. I think I've missed anybody coming in. What's the end of that? Okay. The energy which produces order, this is the energy of the seventh ray or power of divinity. At this time, its major expression will come through the relationship and adjustment required between capital and labor. The labor will be preliminarily involved. This energy is being assimilated in the ashram of the master. At the inception of the industrial era, he was responsible for the formation of the labor movement, a movement bringing to realization the workers of the world. It is interesting to have in mind that today's labor functions international. I thought I had. I just read that bit, haven't I? Do apologize. I also apologise if you can hear the lights. I don't usually like using my strip lights, but I was finding it hard to keep reading with my normal mellow background lighting. Right, so the section I should now be reading. We now come to consideration of the vast ashram controlled by the Master R. He is the Lord of civilization, and his is the task of bringing the new civilization for which all men wait. It is a third ray ashram and therefore enfolds within its ring. Pass not. All the ashrams to be found upon the third ray of active intelligence, upon the fifth ray of concrete science, and upon the seventh ray of ceremonial order. All these ashrams are working under the general direction of the Master R. He works preliminarily through the masters of these three types of ray. He himself at this time is occupied with the seventh ray energy, which is the order producing energy upon our planet. This is the ray of ceremonial order and thought. The activity of its energy, when correctly directed and used, a right rhythm is being imposed upon all aspects of human living. An effort is being constantly made to arrest the ugly chaos of the present and to produce the ordered beauty of the future. The major weapon now being used by the combined forces of evil is chaos, disruption, lack of established security, and consequent fear. The potency of these evil forces is exceedingly great because they belong to no one group of people and to all the ideologies. The chaos produced by indifference, the chaos produced by uncertainty, the chaos produced by fear, by starvation, the insecurity by watching others suffer innocently, and the chaos produced by the warring and conflicting ambitious elements in every nation without exception. These are the factors with which the Master R is attempting to deal. The task is one of supreme difficulty. The entire rhythm of international thinking has to be altered, and that constitutes a slow and arduous task. The evil personalities, which in every country are responsible for the chaos and uncertainty, have eventually to be replaced by those who can work in cooperation with the rhythm of the seven rays, and thus produce ordered beauty. Starting to make things that are going on make a bit more sense. Hi Elderberry, thanks for joining me. Hello Suzanne, great to see you. Thank you very much for joining me. Hi Trina, thanks for coming. Good to see you, lovely. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all very much and very grateful for you joining me. Carry on to the next bit. The task is further complicated by the fact that in the substitution of order for chaos, national cultures must be preserved and the outline of the new civilization presented to the people. This major ashram is therefore confronted with two elements in every land and nation. Those people who hold on to the bad old things of the past, and those who work for the extreme opposite of this point of view, and for that which is new. Under the influence of this seventh ray energy, balance has to be brought about and preserved so that the noble middle way of right action and of right human relations can be found safely trodden. The task of the Master R is, however, lightened by the fact that the seventh ray is now coming into activity and its potency is increasing year by year. His task is also aided by the intelligent work done by the ashram of the English Master, who works constantly with the awakening and the arising masses. Every October and every March, the Master R gathers together his council of helpers, the masters and the senior initiates in the ashrams of the third, the fifth, the seventh rays. Though he is the head of the third ray of aspect and is in control therefore of the two rays of attribute mentioned above, he does not himself wield these forces because he is one of three heads of the hierarchy, and his work cannot be confined to the activity of any one ray. He works through the ashrams of these rays, but he himself works primarily in cooperation with the Christ and the Manu. That's the end of that section. Hi Lost in Space, thank you very much for joining me. Very grateful, thank you for being here. Good to see you all here. Right, on to the next section. For anybody just joining me, the book is split up into different sections, okay? Different quotations from different books that this gentleman, the Tibetan Master, has written, okay? So that's why I keep stopping in between to say hi and what have you. Probably doesn't make it easy to follow, so I will try and stop that. When the Master R assumed the task of Mahachohan, or Lord of Civilization, his ashram was shifted from the 7th ray of Ceremonial Order to the 3rd ray of Active Intelligence. The majority of those who have taken the 2nd and 3rd initiations were transferred with him under what might be called a special dispensation. The rest of the members of his ashram remained for tuition and training in service under the master who took his place as the central point of the 7th ray ashram. Hence, the work of the Mahachohan is at this time in connection with the 7th ray, which is temporarily acting as the synthesis of the 5 types of energy over which he presides, might be summed up as follows. First, he is utilizing the 7th type of energy in order to further the recognition by the human unit of the subtlest substance of the physical plane. The 7th ray is primary factor in the production of objectivity. The energy of the planetary locus of the 7th scheme dominates the 7th plane. It is the ray whereon Deva, substance, and spirit can meet and adapt themselves to each other with greater facility than on any other ray except the 3rd. Man at present is fully conscious through some one or other of his senses on the 3 lower subplanes. It is intended that he shall be equally conscious on the 4 higher. This has to be brought about by the stimulation of the Deva substance which composes his bodies. This will be accomplished through the dynamic will of the transmitting Devas as they energize the manipulatory Devas and thus affect the myriads of lesser lives which compose man's body, and also by an increased responsiveness of the indwelling man or thinker to the contact made upon his body. This increased awareness will be brought about by the arousing of the 5th spirilla, by the unfolding of the 5th petal of the egoic lotus, and by the gradual opening of the 3rd eye through the arousing of uniform activity of 5 factors. The center at the base of the spine, the 3 channels in the spinal column, and the pineal gland. Mine's been hurting today. All these factors involve the activity of Deva essence, plus the resultant awareness of the thinker. This will be followed by the conscious use of the newly awakened powers. In this manner, the close interrelation and interdependency on the 2 lines of evolution become magnificently apparent. Second, the Mahachohan is working specifically at this time in cooperation with the Manu. With the Devas of the gaseous subplane, this is the connection with the destroying work they are to effect on the end of this root race in order to liberate spirit from constricting forms. Volcanic action, therefore, may be looked for, demonstrating in unexpected locations, as well as within the sphere of the present earthquake and volcanic zones. Serious distribution disturbance may be looked for in California before the end of the century and in Alaska likewise. The work of the Mahachohan can also be seen in the effect that the Devas of the Kundalini fire are producing upon man. These are a peculiar group of Agnechatians, I've seen that word, who have reached a stage of evolution which permits of their being separated off from their group into a group connected with a certain fire in man's bodies. This fire, owing to its present activity and the direction of that activity, is responsible for the reaction against physical marriage. and for the desire evinced by highly evolved men, everywhere to evade the marriage relation and confine themselves to creation upon the mental or astral planes. This is due to the present inclination of the manipulatory devas of the lower generative organs to seek the throat center and to function there, utilizing the strength of the Kundalini fire to bring this about. All this is under the law of evolution, but in the interim between cause and justified effect, much harm, evasion of the law, and consequential suffering can be seen. Owing therefore to the violent reaction at this time against the safeguarding laws of civilization, it has been decided that the nature of the functions of the devas must be somewhat revealed to man, and that their place in the scheme of things and man's close connection and dependency upon them must be given out at the same time. That means whereby they may be contacted and the words whereby they can be controlled will be withheld. Laxness in the marriage relation due to this particular cause is only seen amongst the highly evolved and amongst the independent thinkers of the race. Similar laxness amongst the masses and the low types of humanity is based upon a different reason, and their promiscuity is due to a certain development of the animal nature in its lowest manifestation. These two causes will bear consideration by those who have the present needs of civilization at heart. They can then cooperate with the Mahachohan in the work of affecting. Anybody knows I'm saying that wrong, please do tell me. In the work of effecting the very necessary transfer or force from a lower to a higher center, and prevent, through knowledge, the incidental license. This will bring about a refusal to besmirch the great love or sex impulse of nature. The ceremonial ray has been often called the marriage ritual of the sun. That's S-O-N, not S-U-N. Because upon this ray, spirit and matter can meet and have union. This fact also should be borne in mind during the next 100 years, for they will see great changes in the marriage laws. The present laxity will inevitably bring a reaction, and the laws will become more stringent in order to safeguard the race during a transition period. These laws will not be along the line of making escape from the marriage relation more difficult, but will take effect at the other end, so to speak. The rising generation will be probably taught and guarded and indiscriminate. Hasty marriage will not be permitted, nor will juveniles be allowed rashly to enter into the marriage obligation. Excuse me. There is no need to enlarge further upon this, for in working out their own problems men learn, and all that those upon the inner side are permitted to do is to give a hint or an indication. Another angle of the Mahachohan's work is connected with sound, and therefore with the particular devas whom we are considering. Through the mismanagement of men and their unbalanced development, the sounds of earth, such as those of the great cities, of the manufacturers, and of the implements of war, have brought about a very serious condition among the gaseous devas. This has to be offset in some way, and the future efforts of civilization will be directed towards the spreading of a revolt against the evils of congested living and to the dissemination of an impulse of a widespread nature to seek the country and wide spaces. One of the main interests in the future will be a tendency towards the elimination of noise, owing to the increased sensitiveness of the race. When the energy of water and of the atom is harnessed for the use of man, our present types of factories, our methods of navigation and of transportation, such as steamers and railway apparatus, will be entirely revolutionized. This will have a potent effect not only on man, but on the dealers. Hope you're all enjoying the read. I know it's a bit hard to follow. In connection with the hierarchy, the central triangle is composed of the Manu, representing loving intelligent life, the Christ, representing loving intelligent consciousness, and the Mahachohan, representing loving intelligent activity, and therefore between them representing every phase of group livingness, group expression and group action. These qualities focus through the Mahachohan primarily because he is the Lord of civilization, and the civilizations of humanity represent progressive growth and unfoldment. Okay, that's the end of that section. Okay, next section, the 7th Ray Ashram. The 7 major ashrams are each responsive to one of 7 types of ray energy and are focal points in the hierarchy of the 7 rays. The central, senior, and major ashram is at this time the repository of second ray energy. As this ray governs this second solar system, it is the ashram of love, wisdom, the ashram in which the Buddha and the Christ received their initiations and through which each of them works. It will be obvious that if the process of invocation and evocation governs the interplay of the planetary centers, you have in this fact another reason why the senior ashram is second ray in quality. Invocation is related to radiation, evocation is related to magnetism. There are two points worthy of your consideration. The other 6 major ashrams came sequentially into being. As the invocation of primitive man reached such a point of intensity of expression that the response was evoked from Shambhala by its ray representatives, working with directed energy in the 3 worlds. A point of radiatory force was established at first in relation to the second ray ashram, and later to the other ashrams. One by one, as the rays cycled into activity in these 3 worlds, and eventually on the physical plane, the 7 ashrams were founded, developed, and expanded until the time arrived. Several eons ago, when all 7 ashrams were fully organized and through them passed a steady flow of human beings liberating themselves from the 3 worlds. In the earliest times, this flow of disciples was exceedingly small. One by one, individual aspirants found their way out of the ranks of humanity and inside the ring pass knot of the hierarchy. In the beginning, only the first 2 initiations were given, and only through the instrumentally of the second ray and these initiations the world teacher of the period officiated. Then, at a time when the 7th ray of ceremonial order, the ray which plays so potent and mysterious a part in the phase of discipleship called initiation, was in cycle activity, a much greater number of disciples appeared, prepared for initiation, and the initiatory process was then administered in the 7th ray ashram. The 7th ray ashram was the second to be formed owing to the fact that the 7th ray is the relating factor between life and matter upon the form side. Again, to the ancient archives to tell us, there came a great crisis in the evolution of humanity. This necessitated one of the rare cycles changes which have distinguished the fluid policy of the hierarchy. Men began to demonstrate the responsiveness to the law of integration, and personality appeared, with all its potentially potentiality for good and evil. Man became an integrated unit in the three worlds. A great possibility then emerged. Man could, through training and the use of the mind, make contact with the soul. This had not hitherto been done except to a slight degree. This crisis therefore led to the creation of rather to the appearance of the initiatory process, to which we have given the name of the third initiation. Since that time, when the Christ took for the fifth and sixth initiations, editors, all the 7 major ashrams have been fully organized and are steadily increasing in radiatory activity. As you will have noticed, the order of their appearance under the ray activity was 2, 7, 4, 6, 5, 3, 1. In giving this item of ashramic information, I am giving you more hints than you will immediately realize. I think I get that. 4 factors lie behind the momentous happening of the release of this form of atomic energy. Through the medium of what is erroneously and unscientifically called the splitting of the atom, there are other factors, but you may find the following 4 of real interest. A concerned effort was made by a number of disciples who were working in 5th and 7th ray ashrams, and this enabled them to impress lesser disciples in the scientific field and help them to surmount the well-nigh insurpassable difficulties with which they were confronted. Under the influence of disciples of the 7th ray of organization or ceremonial order, that powerful physical concentration of energy, which we'll call money, is proving a topic of the most definite concentration, is being most carefully considered, and the minds of thinking financiers, of the wealthy humanitarian persons and philanthropists will be gradually led forward from strictly philanthropic, activity to an activity which is impulsed and brought into expression by spiritual insight and by recognition of the claims of Christ, no matter by what name he may be called in the East or in the West. Upon the financial reservoir of the world, this is a hard thing to bring about, for the subtle energies of the inner worlds take much time in producing their effects upon the objective, tangible plane of divine manifestation. Money is not yet used divinely, but it will be. Nevertheless, the task is well in hand and is engaging the attention of disciples upon all the rays. Under the guidance and the impression of the powerful 7th ray ashram, now already in process of externalization. That was the end of that one. Did I move my guitars? No, still there, Al. Oh, yes I did, sorry. My kids were over, I was playing with them earlier. So yes, I did move my guitars out. The study of the science of applied purification is one which is engrossing the attention of all the ashrams at this time. Disciples in the 1st ray ashram, in the 2nd ray ashram, and in the 7th ray ashram are peculiarly active along these lines, for the destruction of evil is the work of the 1st ray, and in so destroying its effects, purity is achieved. The fostering of good then becomes possible and is the work of the 2nd ray, of the builders. And the bringing of spiritual energy into contact with the substance and consequently with matter is the unique work of the 7th ray, because it is now in manifestation. The rays which are active in manifestation at this time and in this cycle are there in conformity to the plan and in preparation for the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. These rays are particularly involved, and therefore the initiates of the disciples in the ashrams of the masters are also particularly implicated. In London, in New York, in Geneva and Darjeeling, and in Tokyo, a master will eventually be found organizing a major energy center. At the same time, his ashram will continue to function upon Buddhic levels, for the entire personnel has not been altered for externalization. The ashram will therefore be working on two levels, and yet that is not a correct statement of fact, as there are no levels, as well you know, but only states of consciousness. Ask me not how this can be. Ponder on the relation of this dual and simultaneous appearance by attempting to grasp the nature of the manifested form of the planetary logos in the person of Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumara is not the personality of the planetary logos, for personality as you understand it is not existent in his case. It is not the soul of the planetary logos, because that soul is the anima mundi of the soul of all forms in all kingdoms. Sanat Kumara, the eternal youth, can be seen by those who have the right presiding, for instance, over the council in Shambhala, yet at the same time he is present at the life and in the informing intelligence upon and within our planet. You have therefore 5 points where the externalization of the ashrams will take place and eventually be focused. From these points, at the time elapses, other ashrams, subsidiary in nature, will be found emerging, sponsored and founded by disciples and initiates from these 5 ashrams. The representing the 3 major rays and 2 minor rays. To start with, they will be founded through the presence in these locations of some senior or world disciple. It must be remembered that the forerunner of all movements which appear upon the physical plane is an educational propaganda. Therefore, some disciple upon the second ray will come into action. First of all, in these 5 points, he will be followed by a disciple upon the 7th ray. All world movements are, as well you know, externalizations of subjective ideas and concepts of phases of formulated thinking, and the appearance of the hierarchy upon earth in tangible form is no exception to this rule. That's the end of chapter 3. Right, it's 1 a.m. I've got to get up in 4 hours for work, so I'm afraid I'm not going to get started on chapter 4 yet. But chapter 4, which will be the next one, is astrology and the 7th ray. I don't have my children staying over this week on the weekdays, so I'll see what we can do. Can't promise I'll get on tomorrow night. I'm going to be pretty tired from the weekend, but I will do my best to post a link to the show nice and early, not just go live like I have been lately. For some reason I can't get this software to work the way it's supposed to work. I was supposed to let you guys know I was going to be going live at least an hour in advance, okay? So I do apologise for that, but thank you very much for turning up, everybody.